So I'll share. Gosh, there's so many. Okay. Yeah, this is a good one. So I went to South Africa last year. Have you gone South Africa? Oh yeah, you did with Heidi. Have you gone? I went to. I was going there. It was my second time there, and I'm on the plane and I land in Johannesburg. And when I land in Johannesburg, I have to fly on to Durban. And on my way to Durban, there's like this layover at the airport. So it's a long flight to get to where I am. It's like going here. Long. I hadn't slept, stayed up. I get there and I'm in the airport and I'm waiting in line and my plane is like sitting there. There's nobody maintaining it, but they delayed my plane, and they're not giving us a reason why. And I'm sitting there going, okay, this is like strange. I have like another hour to get to where I got to go. And I have people waiting for me. So, man, what do? You just pray for people. So I'm praying for people, having a great time. If I get laid over in airports, I just utilize my time and touch as many people as I can in the period of time I have. If my plane gets canceled, then I have like a whole long time period to touch people. But I utilize the time for His glory in everything I do. I'm just always about my Father's business. I always want to grow in Him. It's never about trying to be in ministry. It's always about walking with Him everywhere and caring about the one that's in front of you. So I'm sitting in line waiting now, and it's about to board. We get on the plane, and I sit down, and I'm sitting in my seat. I'm in the aisle. I try to get in the aisle because I drink so much water. It's not good to be at the window. Because you always got to say, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and this guy gets on the plane, and everybody knows this dude. And I'm like, man, like this guy's like somebody major. Like everybody knows him. He's like really important. Oh, like, I mean, people that are bummed out are on the flight, like, sad. They see him, they're like, hi. I'm like, man, this guy's like Jesus. But not. And so I'm like, he goes to sit down. He's supposed to sit in this seat beside me. He looks at what's sitting beside him and does not want to sit there. Because it's me. He goes, things about me in the newspapers. And I'm like, no way. Well, what is it that you do? He goes, well, I'm just a businessman. He goes, what is it that you do? I said, well, I'm a businessman too. So he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, I'm about my Father's business. And he's like, well, who's your father? I said, I'm so glad you asked. Because everything is geared towards the gospel. So I was like, my dad, I said, his name's God, man. He said, oh, God. Oh, you're a Christian? I said, absolutely. He goes, oh, I'm not. I go, well, why not? He says, because I'm a Hindu. And I said, wow. I said, so you believe in a lot of gods? He's like, yeah. I go, oh, okay. I said, well, man, I said, how about your heart? Your heart's hurting. You have a problem with your heart. Now, I didn't mean spiritually. I meant physically. He goes, no, I'm okay. And he was kind of embarrassed, like everybody knows him. He didn't want, like, no, I'm fine. Thank you anyway. And he turns and he's talking to the guy next to him. And so I'm just sitting there, but something inside of him is crying out for truth. See, all creation is groaning for you to manifest God. And he's like curious. So tell me about your story. I'm like, yes. So I share my testimony with him, and he is freaked out big time. Because like you're talking about a dude that's been in and out of prison, shot at, extradited across America in shackles and handcuffs, man. Rebellious and a thief your whole life. And he doesn't even know the end of the testimony. All he knows is like, that's the scariest story I ever heard. And he's never had that because he has money. He's never had that happen. But he has his own stuff that he's dealing with. He looks at me and he gets to the end of the story and he's like, my testimony. He goes, wow, that's amazing. And I looked at the air attendant and I said, hey, you've got some stuff going on in your neck right now, right? It's hurting? She goes, yeah. I said, can I pray for you? She goes, absolutely. So I prayed for her and Jesus touches her. She goes, wow, thank you. This guy beside me, he looks at me like, what's going on? I said, Jesus, man, he lives inside of me. He goes, you are psychic. I said, no, I'm not. He goes, well, how did you know about my heart? I'm like, yes, dude, let me pray for you. He goes, please pray for my heart. So I put my hand on his chest. Now the embarrassment at first is gone because Jesus is invading the atmosphere. It's called manifesting your Father. It changes everything. And this is what you're hungry for. This is why you're alive. So this guy, we pray, and he gets all warm in his chest. He's like, wow, this is amazing. Oh, I'm going to the doctors to get checked. I said, man, that's it right there. He goes, we are going to land soon, and when we land, I have somebody meeting me at the end of the jet bridge, and you will let him carry your bag. And I go, dude, it's only a little bag. He goes, no, you must. And it's like this power thing, because he's a man of power, and people listen to him. So I'm like, okay, dude, it's only a bag, but it's all right. I'll walk with you. He goes, thank you. It will be my privilege. I will get your information. He goes, I have a son that has schizophrenia. He says, I want you to pray for him. Do you think that your God will heal my son? I said, absolutely, dude. That's a bold statement to make, unless you know him. It's good to make bold statements in your father and to set father up. You create a landing strip called risk. Boom. So we walk to the end of the jet bridge, and the guy's there to get my bag, and he's like, just carry his bag, please, don't ask any questions. Okay. The guy's not asking a question. On the way down, we get to baggage claim, and I look at him and I go, you wanted to play rugby, didn't you? Professional, but you hurt your knee and you blame God and you think he took your knee out. He's like, what? And this guy, Vivian, he goes, this is true. It's true, isn't it? Because he's been watching God touch people. So now he's convinced that God is real, but he doesn't know how to get to him. He just knows that this guy knows him. People are hungry for this. If you manifest your Father, you'll see so many people come to Christ. It's awesome. So we get there, and he's like, yes. He goes, I didn't pray for your knee. I prayed for his knee, and Jesus heals this guy right there. It's amazing. He's like, yes, this is my new friend. This guy, the guy on the plane that didn't even want to sit next to me. I'm his friend. We get down to baggage claim, we walk out, we get our bags, we walk out, and the pastor that's picking me up knows this dude. Everybody in South Africa knows this guy. He comes up, he goes, oh, hey, sir, how you doing? He knows him. He just honors him, gives him a handshake and stuff. He goes, is this man speaking at your church? He says, yeah, he is. He's actually going to be at my church all weekend. He goes, well, I'm coming on Sunday. What time is service? He goes, really? Okay. Gives him the time. He goes, what's your cell phone number so I can get a hold of him? He needs to pray for my son. My son is schizophrenic. His God's going to heal my son. This guy, the pastor's like, he gives him his number. He goes, call me. So this guy gives me a hug and walks away. And the pastor looks at me and he goes, do you know who that guy is? I go, it doesn't matter. Don't tell me anything about him. I said, God's doing something amazing. He goes, he must be. It was awesome. So we had the greatest conversation, Pastor and I, because he's just a good man, dude. Just loves Jesus. So we go back and I stay with the people I'm staying with. The next morning, I do a service, and then after that, I have a break during the day because we didn't set up the 3 services a day. We only have 2. So this guy texts and says, I need to meet Todd. I need him to meet him at this place called the Oyster Box. It's in Durban. It's just this restaurant. So he goes, can he come at this time? I will send a driver to pick him up. And I'm like, tell him that you guys will take me, and he doesn't need to send a driver to get me. So the pastor takes me, drops me off. I get to this restaurant, and he's not there. So he's like running behind. I'm 10 minutes early. 10 minutes later, he's not there. So I just I don't have anything else to do, so I'm going to pray for waiters and waitresses. So I just start praying for as many as I can, touching people. Just touching people, dude. It's utilizing your time. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's so good. Because I'm always caring about the one in front of me. It's never about ministry or a pulpit. It's always about Jesus that lives inside of this pulpit. So I'm sitting there praying for you. He comes in and he goes, hey, Todd, I'm sorry I'm late. I have business. I said, dude, I'm totally fine. Let's just go sit. So bear with me in this testimony, okay, because it gets amazing. Really, it's amazing. So we sit down, and we're sitting outside, and he says, it's too loud. My son won't be able to handle it. We need to go inside. So we go inside, and we sit down. And he's across the table from me, and he's talking to me and just asking questions. And so how did you come to know this God? And I said, man, I got shot at. Remember when I said that? And I had this encounter, and it was just amazing. And I told him about my wife and getting married. And wow, so you have a family, you have kids? Yes. He goes, I love my son. I can't reach him. And then he looks at me and he goes, we have to move. And I go, why? He said, remember I told you about the newspaper people, that they write bad things about me? The reporter, the head reporter for the newspaper is sitting right beside us at the table. I'm like, what a setup. So he goes, we're going to move, okay? And I'm like, yeah. And he stands up and he goes, oh, hi. And he shakes hands with this reporter. He goes, oh, I didn't see you. But he knew, and he was writing stuff. So he was like writing something. I'm like, man, he's about to get a good story. He is, because it's not intimidation, because God will speak to you if your heart's right. So God speaks to me and tells me this guy has 2 discs that are bad, and his one leg is messed up. He has sciatic pain the whole way down, right to here, and it's numb from here to here. So I look at this guy and I go, dude, and Vivian is away. He walks away. And I said to him, because he doesn't want anything to do with this, because this is a guy that writes bad stuff, but I need to restore relationship here. Because God's always about that. I said to the guy, I said, dude, you have this right here and you have this. He goes, yes. He goes, how do you know? I said, because Jesus lives in me. He goes, I'm a Christian. I go, awesome. I go, let me pray for you, man. He goes, okay. So I prayed for him. All of it went away. Tears filled the reporter's eyes. And Vivian's standing off to the side because there's a lady behind us that has a neck brace on. The lady behind us is at the table. She's watching this man get healed. And she has this thing called dystonia, which is a disease that just numbs out your limbs and just makes you weak and sick. And she flew the whole way to Durban from where she lives just so she can get medicine to put a mask or to kind of lower the effects of this. But she can't get rid of it because doctors have no cure. But Jesus will take her case. So she's crying, and she's with Vivian. After my friend gets done with him, he'll be here to help you. So he's standing by the table waiting. And dude is like saying hi to Vivian, and Vivian's like, it's so nice. I'm so glad that his God touched you. And all of a sudden this lady, we walk over to the table, and she's crying. And I just knelt on the floor and prayed for her. She took her neck brace off. She was completely healed from top to bottom. Completely healed. This is what it means to be clothed with God. To be smeared with God. See, the thing is God will produce a hunger inside of you that anything less doesn't taste good. But you manifesting your Father, because what would it be like for you to see? I don't feel God. That's the thing. Is I rarely feel God. Rarely in my life have I felt Him. Only a couple times, and it's been really scary for me. But I know Him. So it's never about your feelings. And as a matter of fact, when you feel like it's kind of scary here, it's time to manifest Him. When I feel like this is like, wow, this is a little bit freaky here. Okay, time to step into faith here. Boom. And manifest Him. And all that stuff just goes just out the window. It's gone. So I'm sitting there praying for this lady. She gets healed, and Vivian's son walks in. So he said, there's my son. I talked to this lady. She's already born again. She's already Spirit-filled. What time is it? Okay, we're all right. I'm almost there. Okay. So we walk to the table, and Vivian looks at me and he goes, pray for my son. And I said, Vivian, I will not pray for your son until I can share my Jesus with him. He looks at me and he goes, whatever you have to do, just pray for him. I said, I will. And I looked at him, and the kid's like just spaced out, man. He's gone upstairs. He's not there like he needs to be. Because he's schizophrenic and bipolar, suicidal and all that junk. That's the kind of stuff I was dealing with my whole life. But God cured me and healed me of that. So God surely is going to cure him. So I shared the gospel with him. And clarity starts to fill his eyes. And his Hindu son gets born again at the table, right in front of his dad. Now this father is a father of power. He can't fix his kid, but my Jesus fixed his kid. So now his son is clear. He looks at his dad. He's dad. And his dad is so confused right now. Because all the power and all the money in the world and all the stuff and all the business and all that stuff, none of it can fix this. None of it. And he looks at me and he says, man, for 12 years I've been searching and I've been running from here to there and I don't know. I said, man, you need my Jesus, man. And he looks at me and he goes, I said, no, nothing. You need Jesus, man. You need to be born again. You, the one that knows everything, the one that you've witnessed for days now. It's time. He looks at me and he goes, I will give my life to this Jesus. And this Hindu man of power gives his life to God, gets born again right there in the restaurant. In the midst of where you wouldn't even think it would happen. Right there, man. Waitresses and waiters are healed. He starts calling people from his work that are sick to come in to get prayer at this restaurant, man. And he is totally overwhelmed. He says, listen, I need to get back to work. I'm coming to church in the morning to see you. He goes, I'm so thankful. So he comes to church the next morning and just gets really touched by God. Brand new Christian, man. Totally changed. I mean, his life is transformed. I get a call on Monday morning. It's him. He texts the pastor. He goes, I'm on my way to send a driver to pick up Todd. He needs to come to my house to share this truth with my whole family. So they picked me up in this Rolls Royce called the Ghost. I turned my cell phone on and I'm filming the guy in the front seat. He's a Hindu guy. And I said, hey man, I said, you've got stuff in your right shoulder and your left knee and your right ankle. It's messed up right now. He goes, I heard about you. So pray for him, and Jesus touches him and heals him the whole way through. The whole way through. God touches him. He goes, you serve God. I said, I do, man. He's a good God, isn't he? I said, he is. You need him. This is what Christianity is supposed to be like. People look at me and say, dude, there's something special about your life. I'm in love with God. That's what's special. But he desires that all people have the same thing. I went to his house and shared with his wife and her Hindu father. She told me when I walked in, my kids are allowed to worship whoever they want. They can worship the cows. They can worship the trees. They can worship Mary. Anything they want to worship. No one's going to change that. I said, all right. I said, I'm not here to change that. I'm here to share my heart with you. So I shared my testimony and she started to cry. See, in the Hindu faith, they have gurus. And sometimes they do things that they shouldn't to young girls. And so she went through that when she was a young girl. And she was taken advantage of by a guru, by one of the people that was over her religiously. And she said she couldn't block it out anymore, that it was tormenting her every night. I said, you need my Jesus. So she got born again and got saved right there in the house, man. The whole family, boom. Jesus just leveled the house. Why? God wants to put you before kings. He wants to put you before royalty. He wants to put you into certain jobs in really twisted businesses. And he wants you to be there. And he wants you to be able to manifest the kingdom and transform the whole place, because you can't bear to hold Christ in you back anymore. God wants to land upon you, and he wants to smear you with his presence, and he wants you to represent him in this world. I have so many testimonies that are just like that one.